All right, so let's call to order the Bike and Pedestrian Committee meeting on June 19th at 6:30. Alex is absent and Anya is absent. Hey, Joe.
Hey.
Have a
And
seat.
what about,
Francisco's on line.
yeah, hi Francisco.
And
At the race a few weeks. Congratulations.
all right, so we'll go ahead and jump in. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from May 15th? Second,
I second.
all in favor, say aye. Opposed? Okay, great. No members of the public currently, so I'm just gonna jump into town department, except for Joe, but we'll hit on your
It's all
stuff.
about the Greenway stuff.
We'll hit on your stuff. Mary Ho can't be here tonight, but I do have a couple updates from her from Sustainable Fairfield. They have 2 interns this summer that are eager to learn and be helpful. So if we have projects for them, we can get in touch with Mary. So let me know if there's anything you guys think they can help out with. Yeah, I know. She also mentioned they're gonna be documenting all the sustainability work the town has done from August 2024 to present. So for those of you who don't know, I guess we do a certification every 3 years. And this is just a way to stay on top of it. So we do, as the Bike Ped Committee, provide inputs to that on what we've done that kind of connect with that. Let's see. We're gonna touch on the programming piece. She also said they're working to install historical markers on town properties noting various enslaved people in Fairfield. So that's cool. And then the Fairfield Forestry Committee, I guess this week is National Pollinator Week. The spring planting program is complete. So there's no more trees left, which is great. They did the Arbor Day Hug a Tree campaign, was a big success. They've done some cleanup on Burroughs Road and Rockland Road parks. I guess those same 2 high school interns are helping with maintenance of those and 2 other parks this summer. And they also met with Alex and others on the Greenway plans and working with our state delegation to see how DOT can have a better partnership on planting trees in the right of way of state roads. And they cleaned up the traffic triangle at Mill Plain Road in Umpqua recently. So that's from Mary. I don't see Santina yet. So we'll let her give us an update. Oh, that might be her. Santina, is that you?
Yep, it's me. Can you hear me?
Okay. I can hear you. We're just doing the town. We're doing the town updates. That if you have something for health, we are going to talk about the Safe Streets Alliance a little bit later. But if you have anything else.
Yep, the only thing I just wanted to mention was this afternoon I received an email from Anthony over at Parks and Rec that one of the bike repair stations seems to be broken. In the past, when this has happened, we've had some funds and health to replace the repair stations. However, at this time, while Sands is out on leave, I'm going to hold off on it. I'll start looking into pricing and things like that and start thinking about where we might be able to pull potential funds from. But I just wanted you guys to be aware that that came to my attention, and it's on my list of things to look into and to discuss when Sands comes back from leave.
Santina, do you know if the micro grant program allows for bike repair stations in it? That might be something to look.
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head, but I can definitely look into it.
Because that grant application's pretty easy, and I think we have time to hit a June deadline if we need to.
Okay, I'll take a look. I know it was, when we had talked about it, we were looking at the bike rack But
Yeah.
I'll take a look at it and I'll take a look at it tomorrow.
Okay.
But that's it from me.
Okay.
What is the value of the micro grants?
So we can apply up to $5,000, but pretty much every department is eligible for $5,000. So you could kind of,
You can pull it.
yeah, and like the elementary schools, for example, could each apply for $5,000. Like it's you could, as long as you have, a project. So
Is there a list of projects that?
it's pretty narrow. That's why I'm not sure if bike repairs, but it's definitely like bike racks, bike helmets, bike locks, adaptive bikes, and I can't remember if repair stations were on there. So,
Yeah, I can't remember either.
okay.
This is kind of maybe a little off topic. Do they make adaptive stationary bikes? Because I'm just wondering, I'm just thinking, there's a couple places where they've got the outdoor gyms.
Yeah. Oh,
Like, maybe it could be used for that.
yeah. We could look at that. I don't know. Okay. I'm going to go into the chairman's report, and this is kind of going to lead into some of the committee member reports probably. So just some broad announcements. We're still waiting on the federal government to approve the Safe Streets for All grant. We're hoping still that it'll be approved shortly. I believe the town is ready to award a consultant with the project once we have the grant agreement signed with the government. We are also applying for a demonstration project grant that is due next week. And Andrea, the grant writer, has been working closely with Bill Hurley and Christine Brown to kind of get the application together, and it seems to be on track for next week.
Did you say demonstration project grant?
Yeah. So our initial grant is a planning grant, and that's just to put together a plan for the town and kind of identify areas of high crash and areas in need that then we can kind of use as a playbook. And then subsequent grants are for demonstrations. So this particular one that they're submitting is trying to deal with the problem of everybody getting off the highway and using certain streets as cut-throughs. So the idea would be to put up demonstration projects on roads that people use as cut-throughs to disincentivize people from getting off the highway and using them, because wouldn't be faster than just sitting on the highway. Anecdotally, it kind of happens in Westport. Like they have done it on some side roads, and so people just don't use them. They just stay on the Merritt.
I'm a little confused because I thought they wanted to reduce the number of
So that is potentially going to happen, but who knows? This would be another way to kind of get ways to stop telling people to get off the highway, because when you get off and you're encountered with like speed humps or diverters or things like that, then you wouldn't want to get off.
Because 21 and 22 at least are pretty close to one another.
Yeah, the problem, people get off at 19 even and then just get back on at Bronson. And so that neighborhood has a problem at peak times that people are just getting off in Southport and getting back on.
So this is.
And it's not just a problem there, it happens in other parts of town too.
And people get off at McDonald's, right,
Yeah.
Round Hill Road, and then get right.
Get right back on, yeah. So the project is broad enough to kind of encompass a whole bunch of different roads where that could be problematic.
How does that work with that other group that's doing the studies to try to reduce the traffic between Westport and Bridgeport on 95?
I think that's what Adrian's bringing up. One of the things from that project is to actually close exits. But Bill Hurley has mentioned before that has come up kind of a few times in his tenure here. And
It is forever.
right. So, and it's never actually happened. So this could be another solution for that. But that project is run by the state, and those don't move very fast. So the LTA met today. I didn't get a chance to listen, but I did hear that on Old Post Road, they approved narrowing the travel lanes to 10 feet, which is great. And striping, I think, a bike lane, but don't hold me to that.
Will it be a protected bike lane or you know?
I don't know. There's also, I think, going to be a rainbow crosswalk on Old Post. I believe the location is like right in front of St. Paul's.
Yeah, I can see where it's,
Is it striped differently?
no, it's not striped differently, but the template, right? Like they've got the lines ready, guidelines.
I believe that got approved, and the neighborhood I was just talking about on Kings Lane is the road. That's where you get off in Southport and kind of can get back on at Bronson. They approved doing a demonstration project of a diverter there to try and stop people from being able to turn right or something. I don't know all
You
the
have to turn
details.
left.
Yeah, you'll have to turn
Well,
left.
I only know because when the line is too long, I don't use it to get off 19 and get on, but I bypass the 19 entrance.
Go on. Yeah. Yeah, so you won't be able to do that anymore. At least temporarily. We'll see.
I drive the speed limit.
So wait, I'm sorry, by rainbow crosswalk, you mean literally?
Yeah.
That's the
They're
design?
gonna
Yeah, for
paint,
Pride.
yeah, for Pride. For
So
Pride
is it
Month.
temporary?
Well, it'll be permanent, but it is in
That's what
connection.
because
Yeah.
it's June, I didn't know if it was a temporary thing or.
No, it will be a permanent, because it's not just paint, it's like a
Applique kind of. Got it. Okay. I mean, because Bill talked about it at the Pride event, but I got the sense that, right, it was just for Pride Month. So.
pretty sure it's permanent, but now you're making me
I mean,
question.
either way, because I was just thinking, I was like, oh, if it's for Pride Month, like they're really kind of behind.
I was about to say, I'm guessing it is permanent because, you know, it is.
I'm pretty confident it's permanent, but you are making me question my.
Wasn't my intention.
I think that's it for LTA updates. And then the Safe Streets Alliance is having a kickoff event on Monday at 10:30 at the public library. The governor is coming. Blumenthal is scheduled to speak. Representation from Connecticut DOT will be there. Local representation will be there. The chief of police and the chief of fire will talk, and also one of the elementary school principals is on the list to speak. We have secured an adult bike to raffle and a kid bike to raffle. So the idea is you can come to the event, you can sign the pledge to be a safe road user, and you get a raffle ticket to be entered into one of the two bike prizes. We've gotten some great sponsorships, so there's 0 tax dollars being spent on the campaign, which is pretty cool.
Actually, that's good to know because I saw a comment on the town of Fairfield post. It was obviously snarky, like,
So it's
who's paying
well,
for this or something along.
it's funded through the or the active transportation grant. We did get one for education purposes, so that's being used. And then we've also got Penske Auto, so Porsche, Audi, and the other one are honest sponsors.
Mercedes-Benz.
Mercedes-Benz. They're a sponsor, and then also we got what is it? Santina, the radio SHU is a sponsor.
Yeah, the FHU.
And I feel like there were a couple others. But anyway, so that's great. And we Anya did some survey analysis of the survey went out. We had almost 2,000 responses, which was really a lot more than we kind of expected.
Is it still possible?
It's closed now. It will open again at the end of the campaign because we're trying to measure the campaign's like effectiveness, if it's like changed perceptions or anything like that.
I was just thinking that if anyone hadn't, we could use the event on the 25th to get more.
So for the 25th, I think we'll have the Alliance represented. We'll have the pledge and stuff there, and like lawn signs and magnets and stuff for people in case they want to learn more about it.
Okay,
I think
cool.
we can
I didn't know that, so I should order more cable. Okay.
Oh, okay, yeah, we can talk about that.
Yeah, why
The last as part of the campaign, Anya and I are reaching out to local ice cream businesses to see if they'll donate like kids cone coupons similar to what we did last May for National Bike Month, where the police handed out free ice cream cones to kids that they saw who were wearing their helmet. So we didn't do that this past May because there's a lot going on, but we're going to see if we can work that into the campaign that's going to go on over the summer.
I would definitely ask Saugatuck Sweets.
I got to call Al.
Yeah. He was always doing that for Tomlinson.
Oh, he was? Okay,
Yeah.
that's good to know. Yeah, I reached out to Dairy Queen this just came up on Wednesday. So I reached out to Dairy Queen yesterday, and then I have Saugatuck Sweets, and Anya's going to reach out to Tabitha's and
16 Handles, Sunny Days.
Sunny Days was the other one. So yeah, if anybody else wants to call 16 Handles, let me know. Okay, I think that's it for me, and I think I covered the Safe Streets Alliance update. So encourage everybody to kind of come. If you could post the Safe Streets Alliance kickoff on your social stuff if you have one, and encourage your neighbors and friends to attend. It's a tough time, but
Yeah,
During the day on
I
Monday?
have it on
Yeah.
my calendar, but it's gonna be
yeah.
until the last minute. I won't know if I can actually go.
Make a good demonstration for the
Well,
governor
it's-
just to convey.
I was
Public
reading it
interest.
today, and it's going to be really.
Well, I was just gonna say, it's gonna, like, we have this car from the state police that can simulate you being in a crash, and I think they put it at 5 miles an hour, but it's jarring enough that the anecdotes have been, everybody's like, no, don't make it go faster, because like, I don't wanna know what a collision feels like higher. I think there's also gonna be like a drunk driving analysis thing set up. There's gonna be a police cruiser and a fire truck, and there's like cookies from Alina's. So yeah, it's gonna be a great event. So I really encourage people to
Is
come.
there a post?
Yeah, the town's posted, Bike Ped's posted,
Yeah.
Elf's posted.
So I just need to find it and share and.
I
read
put it on-
You can do it I posted it actually today at Bike Ped, and then in the comments, I added today all those things that are gonna be there, because I didn't know until I saw it today that they're gonna have the crash simulation and the this and the that, and the bikes.
I put it in Moms of Fairfield. If you're in there, if you can like it or comment on it too, because then more people will see it.
I literally requested to join Moms of Fairfield in about an hour and a half.
Oh.
I think I've shared it there as well, and
Yeah, so I thought you had, but that was our event that I found, but maybe I just missed the other one.
I can't remember, just whenever anybody's.
You're a top
complaining-
contributor though, so I would
Yeah, so I
encourage you to,
I will make sure it gets out there again, because I know I posted them both when people are complaining about scooters. I say, well, if you're really that interested in helping solve this problem, I highly suggest you attend this event.
and on that note, I'm working on an email to go out through Bill's newsletter that addresses e-bikes and e-scooters. So it takes the draft that we reviewed that Alex did a few months ago, and it incorporates information from the police. And it's very nuanced, actually, like what I think Fairfield teens are using versus like what the state laws say. So I'm working through that with the police now, but that is going to be part of the campaign. We'll release kind of like this is what an e-bike and an electric scooter actually are, and then the things that a lot of the teenagers are driving are actually like motorbikes and fall into a totally like different category. So do your research on what you're buying so you know like what is.
Are you gonna have like a distilled article and then a link to something that is more fulsome that would reside on the website, or?
I mean, it's more, the format is kind of like the deeper dives that the town has done before, so I'm trying to keep it as brief as possible to get the points across.
Sure.
Less is more.
Yeah, but because it is kind of nuanced, maybe we will link some stuff out, but that wasn't like my intention at the
Sure.
start.
No, I was just wondering, I don't know,
I wouldn't get into a lot of nuance with 14-year-olds.
Well, the audience is their
Buying
parents.
the bike.
Yeah.
But maybe that's something that you and I could work on after that's done, right? Like create a resource and then I can repost it.
Right.
With, this was in the first selectman's newsletter, and, here are additional resources that will help you better understand and whatever.
Yeah. Okay. Sandy, can I turn it over to you for the Complete Streets policy?
Yeah, so Jeff Randolph and I met this past Friday, and I had a lot of questions for him about why he had done things a certain way. I have a much better understanding now. I have kind of an approach to getting it wrapped up within the next week and getting it circulated to the committee, right? Because that's what you were.
Yeah, I think if we get to a point and then we can get feedback from the committee on the policy and like what your initial thoughts, I still think it's a little too
long.
and like there's a lot of headings in it. I have some like visual feedback. I think a lot of the content is good at this point, but I think the way we have to agree kind of on what we want the policy to look like, and then we have to then take it to the relevant groups in town and get buy-in and alignment. But I think we, as a committee, need to look at it and have all the eyes kind of deciding what we think before we take that next step. So once Sandy's kind of done, then we'll circulate it. Because I know Adrian's looked at it a few months ago. It's a lot.
Yeah, although if there's post this panel, it might make sense for me to revisit. If there's a need, want to.
No, I would like everybody to look at it and read it, and because it's going to replace the current Complete Street policy that we have now. So
But there are some quirky things. Like I was like, this feels like it's out of sequence. Like it would make more. I can't remember what it was, but it turns out he was basing it on.
Yeah. So I still have.
Which still, even after he explained that to me, and I understood why he had done it, but why it is.
Well, and that's what I think we'll need to flesh out. Because I agree. I don't know how important it is to have it in those categories. This isn't a question I haven't got a great answer to, versus having the substance in the policy. And so that's something, so if you guys are all feeling that way too, we should talk about it and figure out how we want it to be. And we can look into too, if Smart Growth America, if we can use any resources there to kind of ask those questions. I don't know. So that's just a question I have.
He cut it back significantly from what he had started out with, and that was a good step in the right direction. I still think it's a little wordy and would be more useful if it could be cut back a little bit more.
And I think
that's what I'm looking
like
at.
a little bit more narrative, like a little more prose than.
Yeah.
I do remember. It's now a little hazy because it's been quite a while.
But yeah, we definitely would value everybody's input on it.
And Sarah, Roy has been commenting also.
Yeah, and I know Christine Brown looked at it too, so so we have a lot of eyes, but more eyes are good. All right, next up, Adrian, is the library presentation.
So, Francisco, Sarah, and I all kind of know the state of this, so I will try to be brief. Basically, we are doing the presentation on the 25th. We have 4 panelists and a moderator. One of the moderators is Mega, who couldn't attend the rehearsal, and so we need to work out a few details because we're going to highlight 2 projects, one big project and then one
Demonstration
project, thank you. But we need to kind of iron that out with her. I assume we'll do that tomorrow. But otherwise, I think we're good to go. The library spaces, I've been in touch with them, and I think all of that is in order. It turns out we may need a couple of extra tables, but it's small stuff. And we will also, just on the phone, record it. And try to put it up either. I think we could do it on the library site. We could potentially upload it to YouTube and put it on the Bike Ped Committee page. We have to figure out where it will, yeah. In addition to the panel discussion, the first 25-ish minutes will have a variety of programs. We have a little quiz that people can take about, what constitutes a safe street or, safe environment for walking, biking, driving. We'll have a large map that one of the panelists is going to provide with sticky notes that people can indicate where they see either corridors or intersections that they think deserve closer attention. And thanks to Francisco, we have a program that will simulate different types of physical limitations that will allow people to kind of understand challenges that people have in moving around.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So that's going to be awesome. And last I heard, unfortunately, the registration was not terribly high. And when I say that, I mean it was low. But here's hoping that, the posts, the social posts, and I kind of hope that there would be a mention of it in Bill's newsletter.
I think it is
I didn't see it, but it's possible I missed it.
pretty far down.
What's the registration?
It was about 4, but that was like
You have to register. Oh,
like 80 to 100.
Oh, okay. Because it's funny, like I didn't register because I thought it was like 25, and I didn't want it.
Oh,
no. Everybody, again, similar to the Safe Streets kickoff event, everybody should encourage friends, family, neighbors to come. So if you have like neighborhood chats or whatever, like put it out there.
Maybe I should.
Yeah, I could put it on Nextdoor too.
Yeah.
Do you have a little blurb that outlines like who the panelists are, like?
You, right?
No.
Not who the panelists are.
I don't think
even know if
it's
that's
ne-
needed. I'm just thinking
The
like
blurb in the
something-
newsletter, there is a more detailed blurb in the newsletter than what's on the social media tile.
There's an invite that I uploaded to the RTM.
But that was a letter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think because
But it was in the
cannot master
format
Canva
of
for the life of me, so I have to be very. I cannot master Canva for the life of me, so I have to be very simple.
Well, so-
You're ahead of me.
Well, Anya did the Canva post, so we have that, just like the safe
Yes, and I
streets
put
that looks
that up,
like.
but I'm just
And then there is a narrative that's in Bill's newsletter that we wrote, that kind of says a little bit more.
Where can I find that? Because I probably, every day I'm like, yeah, you're out of storage, so I just delete everything.
Yeah.
Is it on the town website?
It is.
Okay.
I can just send it to you now, though.
I can try to put something.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry, you said it's up on your social media, right?
The social tile is, but I don't think it has the detail that Amy was asking about.
Okay,
Because I think if we highlight that.
just because I'll go and reshare it on help.
We've got these various activities.
Thank you.
I think that program that simulates the physical limitations, that's really interesting. And I think if we plug some of that, it might generate
I'll send
a
you
little
this,
bit.
and then if you want to add more, like,
Okay.
feel free, I think.
So Francisco, how does that program work?
Yeah, it's part of UConn's, they're called CT2, like transit research group, and they sort of just like go to events like the ones we're hosting and socialize, like safe streets basically, or in this case, what they're actually going to use is they're going to give us like prompts so people can experience what people with low mobility experience when crossing the street. So they give like some vests with weights. They give goggles with like some are blurry, some have like tunnel vision, um, you know, things like that, so people can experience what other people might experience crossing the street.
Do you have like a little, maybe like marketing blurb or something from them, so I can try to incorporate that in
Yeah, they actually sent us something that I mean I can send it to you, but yeah.
there? All right, thank you.
Um,
Okay. So the last topic is the Greenway project. Alex sent me a couple updates, but Francisco and Mike, feel free to chime in. Sorry, I'm just trying to find Alex's email. Did have it up.
While you're looking for that, just a big thanks to Joe for spearheading a lot of this stuff and bringing that to, doing a lot of field research, i.e. bushwhacking out there. So we really takes it at this stage and takes somebody with a level of detailed passion. We really appreciate that. So I hate to be losing you. It's a good cause to lose you, but and appreciate your offer to stay involved. But I also understand. I went to grad school. I lost all my friends before college, so don't worry about it.
I'm sorry, for the minutes, I wasn't here the last.
Oh yeah, Joe. You can just call me Joe, but my last name is Walewski, W-A-L-E-W-S-K-I. And so for context, I think as the rest of them know, I've grown up in Fairfield my whole life. And then I also did like running from middle school onwards, so starting at Fairfield Woods Middle School across country. I bring that up because over COVID, we were still responsible for like staying in shape throughout college and everything. And with no track meets or anything, I decided to run every street of Fairfield, which then coincidentally gave me a lot of local knowledge. And so I've also been super passionate about the environment. And I initially, my first interaction with the town government was commenting on the SantaCon littering at the start of 2024. And then I saw how popular my commentary was. And I also knew Bill. So then I started to get involved with sort of, the local knowledge of everything. And then I, at the POCD in October of 2024, had suggested a concept for a north-south trail across Fairfield. It turns out Alex Ressi was also thinking about this, and then Jeff Randolph kind of linked us together, and it turns out we had actually come up with almost the exact same route. So then, great minds think alike. And so then we just started really working together, me, Jeff, and Alex, and then now Francisco a lot too. So I also have a decent computer science background, so I rendered a lot of the map in QGIS to make like a very overlay it with who owns which parcels and everything. Francisco as well, I got some of the information for you that you requested last time. The total length of the path would be 13.83 miles as an exact number. And then
Could you talk to the start point, end point, just to get
yeah.
real quick?
I don't know, Francisco, I don't know, do you have Joe's map that you could share just so we could see, or if not, that's not a big.
Yeah, no, I don't.
It's a great
map.
It's easier if he connects.
Yeah, I'll just hop on the Zoom.
Oh, yeah, that works too, yeah.
But it starts in Reading.
Well, or east, the Fairfield Eastern border.
Okay, all the way up. And
Yeah.
follows, most of it's, and you were about to give me the percentage, which I'm dying to know,
Mhm.
but most of it follows existing walking trails that are open space properties, so that, anyway, not to
Yeah.
your guy.
No, thank you. So essentially, the top of it would follow, or it would start at the intersection of Wilson/Beers Road at the Fairfield Eastern border, and then follow south through 12 open spaces on the way down to the beach at South Pine Creek. And so essentially, there's various stages of the alignments, and so far I've focused on the ones that are most feasible. And one thing that's honestly pretty impressive to me is that even with the most rudimentary alignment right now, which would miss, for example, all of Perry's Mill Pond's open space, and just have to follow Mill Plain Road instead, even that alignment would already be 33.6% through the open spaces. Then with one bridge as a key action item, the very first bridge that we would want to connect, which would connect the eastern and western side of Perry's Mill Ponds, would take 1.34 miles off of the road and put almost exactly a mile onto the trails. So then it would instantly jump to being 41.8% on open space. So that's why I think as I talked with Alex and Francisco as a very first thing, possibly even searching for a small private fund like the Tucker Fund or something before needing like a large scale grant, if there could just be a bridge across Perry's Mill Ponds in that open space above the northern dam. This had been identified as a constraint on recreational enjoyment of the open space as early as 1987. I went back and report, yeah, and it's shocking, honestly, that a bridge
Not
hasn't
really, you
been
mentioned
made yet.
Dr. Rice.
Yeah.
In his book.
Yeah, he had mentioned it as
40
well.
years ago.
So it's,
Where do they want to put a bridge on
A
Perry?
tiny little bridge, just connects, if you know the Perry's Mill property, if you've ever walked all the way back there, not the big pond, the secondary pond, follows along the west side of the pond, it comes to a
Yeah.
point, it turns into a marsh. And
Yeah.
There's another thing, but I didn't really know, there's another path coming up the other side, but this marsh impedes connectivity.
Yeah.
If we could bridge that, I don't think it'll be that big a deal, so I say.
yeah, it's, the Mill River there is less than knee deep.
Would
So
it be like at the end of Perry Street or?
it would, do you know where Twin,
Like Palmetto?
those are the eastern side goes off of Palmetto.
Palmetto?
Yeah.
Okay.
It might be, I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, Perry Street is east, but farther south, exactly. Yeah, because that's over by the bog on the eastern side, or I guess it's
We're getting into the
not bog.
Yeah,
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 okay,
yeah.
yeah. Long story short, that's one of the key improvements, and I know that I could tell you were initially a little disappointed with that number, thinking it'd be higher. And the thing is, it will be over time. There are other massive alignments that are missing. For example, there's a right of way. This is something that Jeff Randolph and I had already started clearing. There's a right of way that also needs a few bridges, but once that's done, that'll add like another mile or two of trail on the northern section and take that one off the roads. Likewise, there's a section of land actually that the Lake Hills Association owns northeast of St. Mortar that isn't a lake, and there's already some unofficial trails there. But if those could just be made into part of the Greenway, that would be another like mile or two off the roads. So there'd be like sections bit by bit that would streamline it. Likewise, if St. Mortar could be accessed directly, the preliminary alignment has to bypass it. You know, that'll add another half mile or so. So basically, you just slowly start snipping away, and the percentage will jump a lot. But I think as a sort of, because a lot of those other ones require other landowners. For example, Lake Hills would obviously be the Lake Hills Association. St. Mortar would require them and like one private landowner on Arrowhead Lane, which is a small dead end off of Black Rock Turnpike. But the Perry's Mill Pond one is entirely within the town government, and it's one bridge. And that alone would be an 8% improvement, like right off the bat. So I think that's a very reasonable first place to start, especially because other groups, like reports, have already said that this should be a thing. Does that sound good to you, Francisco?
Yeah, it's a great overview of the alignment. And so Sarah and team, so we had been looking at the Connecticut Recreational Trails Program for a grant. Like what type of information do we need in order to apply for a grant? And the grant allows funding for planning or for construction, right? So I guess our first question was like, if we or the town could, hire a consultant to finalize the design that Joe started, then we could apply for a grant for construction. If that's not
They're
Yeah,
not, so I guess my question is, they don't require that you have a planning grant to then file, so like the Safe Streets for All grant requires that you have a planning grant before you apply for subsequent funding to do
So you need to
construction?
do the planning before doing to apply for a construction grant. That's basically,
But you don't
so
have to do it through their planning grant.
you don't have to, you could do the planning outside of it,
Okay.
but once you've done it, you could apply for construction funds. So, I mean, and from Greenwich, like looking at Greenwich's application, they actually did a planning grant, but they requested around 300,000 for planning, basically. So I don't know if the town could like hire somebody to, help with the finalize the design, right? Actually going surveying, actually going socializing.
I mean,
If the answer is no, then we just have to do an application for planning funds.
my instinct would say we'd have to get the planning
Yeah.
funds first.
I think, well, it's on stages.
Okay.
Planning, then you have to get the design.
Yeah, I don't think there's like 300 grand lying
Yeah,
around to
that's-
hire a consultant to do the plan without the grants.
Doesn't hurt to ask.
Yeah,
But,
so I think that's a question we can confirm, but that would be what my instinct
Yeah.
tells me.
And this is just for running and pedestrians, it's not for bike, right?
For now.
No, potentially for biking as well. I mean,
It is.
not fully road bike, not like Tour de France bike, but
Back access.
yeah, you can have mountain bike, maybe some of those hybrid bikes that have like a little thicker wheels, but yeah.
I think the phrase is off-road.
Yeah. And to clarify, the bike route would be slightly different. They would mostly superimpose, but at times they would diverge, like through sensitive ecological areas or through the open spaces in the northern part of town where there are cliffs and things. Obviously, you don't want to have a bike in there. So north of there, the bike route, basically, if you can imagine the pedestrian route, I'm trying to pull up the map too. My laptop is connecting to the internet though, but essentially, what I can say right now is that both are near the bottom part of Hoyden's or Grace Richardson open space in like the Hoyden's Hill neighborhood, and pass over the Merritt at Morehouse Drive, which is a very quiet Merritt overpass, which is nice. And then while the pedestrian route goes into Grace Richardson and again goes through over that like very rocky terrain, the bike route would actually currently go down Congress Street to the Congress Merritt intersection, follow Black Rock Turnpike, and then through over to like the Shrub Oak Lane area, right by basically where Alex lives. And he had thought of this because of the UI power lines, which could then be identified as a potential route for the bikes to go on later on. But then, yeah.
Yeah. So no, but in terms of the application itself, like what we would need to do, like assuming we're going for planning funds, the application writing it, I think it's pretty simple. What requires some heavy lifting is we have to do basically public engagement. So have a couple of public meetings, like to show what the route, is going to be like, have people's feedback, also present it to the Board of Selectmen, get their approval, and then get some letters of support.
So can I
Go ahead.
interrupt?
Mhm.
I think after the last meeting when we talked about this, one of the open questions was talking to conservation. So has that happened?
Yeah. And I'll first very quickly say I got in touch with, just by meeting them in smaller meetings, one of which was a conservation bird walk. I got in touch with one of the people at the green teams for the elementary schools to, again, kind of get a lot of the socialization out. Allison McGrath, who works with Stratfield Elementary School. And then I also bumped into Kathleen Davenport, actually going through Perry's Mill Ponds today. And she works with Fairfield Woods Middle School and would like to help as well. So that's already not obviously the formal socialization.
I could swim lessons.
But, you know.
And I know
it
you guys
helps
spoke with
spread the
Mary
word.
Hogue
And-
also.
Yes,
Yeah.
and she said it sounded fantastic. As for conservation, I met with them last night at the committee meeting. this wasn't formally on their agenda yet as things had started to go around. I also, when speaking to some of the commissioners, like Salvatore and Ted, what is his last name? Look now. Ted Luxinger, I think. Yeah. They definitely seemed quite interested. Tim Bishop wanted to like take a little bit more time to go over exact designs, et cetera, through the open spaces before saying anything either way. There's also going to be another meeting with me, him, Emmeline Harrigan, and I think the Board of Public Health as well was interested. And that will be June 24th at 1 p.m. Oh, and the first selectman, Bill Gerber, too, June 24th at 1 p.m. And I think there in order to sort of make progress, in addition to the thing as a whole, I'll mention as a first action item this bridge over the mill ponds. So that at least.
I feel like we kind of have to take a little step back.
Yeah.
Before going forward, just like to come up with, maybe you've already done this, but to like have like do you have a like I know we had the presentation before, but it feels like a lot has changed since that one. Like, do you have like a formal thing that shows like all the routes and kind of like what you guys are prioritizing as like the first couple steps? And then I guess like if we're gonna ask for the planning grant, we kind of have to flesh out like what needs to happen and what the ask is, because I assume there's like a % that the town would have to commit to. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we have a deck to sell, you know.
I think we need one.
Yeah, I think we need, yeah. Not just yeah.
Just
that we can
because-
use, that we can use with, you know, town people and also with the public at some point.
And I'd like to have like PED representation at the meeting with Bill and the Emmeline and Tim also.
I'd already mentioned that Francisco and Alex were working on it.
Yeah.
With me, but I can certainly try to get one. Are you available Tuesday? Or actually,
No, I can't. I think
you're traveling right now, so I can try to see if Alex is available. If not,
Yeah, I can try and make it too. I think it's important to have like somebody still
absolutely
in the loop for that. But yeah, I would recommend like everybody pulling together like what the presentation's going to be and then like what we're actually asking for. And like that meeting could identify a lot of other things that we haven't thought of, but like it'd be good to just have kind of like a basic direction of what we can do to help like move it forward. And at some point we have to bring in the grants manager from the town too. So this grant application wouldn't be until the spring. Is that still correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, all right.
also, I was gonna say, in terms of attempting to share a map, how do you actually get on the Zoom for like where on the website?
Is it in the agenda?
Oh, it's in the agenda.
Yeah, it should be in the agenda. While you do that, does anybody else have any other business or?
I have a question.
Yeah.
I don't understand how the Safe Streets Alliance and the Transportation Authority, is there any relationship between the two? Like, how does that?
So the Safe Streets Alliance is a public education campaign, and it just brought together various groups within town government, the Bike Ped Committee, the First Selectman's Office, Health, Fire, PD, to kind of come up with this public education campaign. The Fairfield Traffic Authority is like the decision maker on any changes to our roads. So some of those people overlap. So the Traffic Authority has representation from police and plan and zoning and engineering. That's a big one.
That will make sense.
You forget that.
So they're the approval body. So changing the striping of the lanes on Old Post gets approved because it's something different. Like the Villa project goes through that because it's changing the the roadway. But the Safe Streets Alliance is temporary. It's just this public education campaign. It was a working group, and now it's going to push out content over the summer.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
One thing, there's supposed to be the BlackRock audit on Tuesday.
Yes, thank
I
you.
never heard anything more about it. It said meeting location to be determined.
Yeah.
Have you seen anything more?
There is a registration form.
Oh, okay.
Is this for the
The Desegregate
walk audit?
CT is going to do a walk audit of Fairfield Metro. So let me see if I can forward you that link.
Probably Google it.
Maybe, yeah.
I actually was trying to find it
Occurred
in
to
my
me, it was on my
emails.
calendar.
It's still happening,
Okay.
and we're doing a loop around kind of what's already kind of been developed. And Emmeline Harrigan is participating from the town, and I'm going to try to go also, or I'm planning to go.
Might overlap with this other meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's on the calendar yet, but we'll, okay, but I'll look at that. If you don't find it and I don't get back to you, let me know, because I definitely have it somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, there's Joe.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I think it would just be good visually, Amy, you can kind of see. It's a pretty cool concept. Did
anybody talk to Mill River Wetland Commission or Committee? Because is it town property or is it part of the Mill River Wetland?
That's a good question.
So
Is that under
technically,
Tim?
they
I think it's all under.
the Mill River Wetland Committee doesn't actually own property. It's an educational committee operating with the town. So it's all town property itself. I have the map.
Tim is still a right.
Yeah.
Like Tim Bishop as the director of
Yes, he
conservation
is.
would be overseeing that too, wouldn't he?
No, it's an independent nonprofit. Yep.
Like the Audubon or something.
Yeah. But they might be a good group to also have
Yeah.
buy-in
Yes,
because
definitely.
everybody
Right.
loves River
I agree.
Lab, everybody
Yeah.
knows them.
I talked with them at the Founders Day celebration they had, so they are aware of it, and there's a lot of enthusiasm or excitement for them for the most part. Yeah, I mean the only things again would be kind of like as Tim said, if there's particularly environmentally sensitive areas, and this is where for example a consultant would help. Is I with the running and everything, I just know the position of everything and where trails do exist. However, even as much as I love nature and have used iNaturalist, I acknowledge that I am not a licensed ecologist or something. And if they want to, if there needs to be a new bridge or trail or something, and if they need to move it 50 feet one way or the other because a nest of a certain animal exists or this is a valuable foraging ground or something, that's where a consultant would, step in and sort of then make this a very well detailed plan for a construction grant. So I have the large scale route here. Yeah, so this is what I had done in QGIS. Oops, sorry, yeah. To clarify, the town of Fairfield is in white, the other towns are in other colors. Then the pedestrian route is that greenish color, the bike route is the bluer color for lines, and then for land ownership, this mustard yellow is the town of Fairfield owned land. This blue is Aquarium Water Company. This purple is actually state of Connecticut land, which up by the reservoir is actually part of a state forest. This tealish color is the Connecticut Audubon Society. The orange is the Aspetuck Land Trust land. Pink is Lake Hills. These colors, which appear more further down, are other private groups which have at least some wildlife land. This orange is I'm not sure if I said the orange, which is the Aspetuck Land Trust. And finally, gray is somewhat individually or corporate owned private parcels that have at least partial open space interest for acquisition. So the routes that are drawn on here are what would be feasibly signed today. So for example, when I was saying the very, very top, I can zoom in for what we have done so far. This is the intersection of Wilson, which goes further into Easton, and then Beers Road here, which forms the Easton Fairfield border. So for example, the very first miles from north to south would be currently on roads, follow through the Hoydens Hill trails for the through the tiny town-owned open space land in between the state forest, through the town-owned trails, and then onto another road here, and then a road here, for example. Whereas the future alignment would follow this right-of-way, so bypass all of those roads, go through a small section of trails that actually already exist on this state-owned land and that nobody knew about, and then ideally hug the side of the golf course here so they could connect into the trails like Grace Richardson here. So that this way you would bypass this section of road, and this whole section, which is why I was saying that, 33.6% right now doesn't sound too high, but once you start doing all this stuff, the percentage is gonna skyrocket. And I think Jeff and I calculated by the end, it could be up to almost 90% on trails. But this is our starting point, the 33.6. It would then, I guess I'll start also with the bike route here, which would go down, meet Easton at North Street, or they call it Division Street, and then follow down Shrub Oak Lane, etc. to, I believe this one is right near like Hemlock Hills Road, and then cut across onto Black Rock Turnpike here, which definitely is a little unfortunate given how high traffic this is, but at least also it could be used in the future for possibly justification for bike lanes there, which should be there anyway. And then the two, for example, would meet on Congress here.
Joe, would you just zoom out so we can see?
Oh, the whole town?
Just because I feel like
Yeah.
this is kind of cool to see.
Oh, yeah. And this is what I meant by, for example, Sam Mortar's bypass fully right now because of the inadequate trail access. Trying to figure out, okay, there we go. Yeah. All the way down, for example. You get a rough overview. Oops, zooming in. You get a rough overview, for how the entire map would look. Yeah.
Does anybody have any other questions on this topic?
I guess then the last thing I would say, just for the very first tangible improvement, this bridge over the mill ponds. As you can see, the route right now, going from here, does this somewhat silly looking around here, down onto Mill Plain, then up and around like this before going into Mill Hollow. Whereas the bridge would be like right here. And that's what I'm trying to denote with all these little circles for potential extensions. So instead of having all of this road distance on the side, it would just go here, cut across the trails, and then snake down as the cursor is right there through Perry's Mill Ponds. So it's just things like that clip off, and you start to drastically improve the percentage on trails. If people, at a wide scale here, if you want me to zoom in or zoom in or comment on any specific part of the route so that, we have other potential action items to go with. I have that as a suggestion as a first one in terms of a slide deck and talking about improvements between the various trails. I wanted to wait a bit to get any feedback, but so far everyone's seen the map and been like, that looks great. And then,
When do you head off?
Just about a week.
Oh.
Yeah, sadly, it's coming up very, very soon.
That's really soon, yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy I got to meet with you guys twice, because a lot of the other committees, it's only once before I leave.
Cool. All right. Anybody, I think.
Stop sharing?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Anybody have any other business?
I salami you for all that you've done. It's awesome.
It's a really great starting point.
Thank you. Yeah.
Since when I'm wearing my professional hat, I do public engagement, and I'm actually working on a bike ped path, shared use path for Rockland County, that's 26 miles. So it feels very similar,
Yeah.
although it's much more controversial. I'm happy to contribute to anything related to like how to kind of figure out the public. It's a small piece of it, and this one isn't controversial, so it's really just making sure that, you know, you try to keep it, I think you can keep it to a minimum in this case. I mean, we have to do walking tours, it's a big, it's much more. But is there any area that, before you go, one question is, I'm not familiar with the area, is there any place that you think is controversial or that you think you'll get a lot of pushback?
That is a good question. I know in sort of the wider, because I don't even mention this much because I get this is a lot, but even beyond this, there are other suggestions which I imagine those might be more controversial. Luckily, this is going to be. Oh, also in terms of, because I know Francisco had wanted this too. There's only, even in the current proposal, there's like less than 2,000 feet of non-town owned road. So across the 13 miles, it's, you know, another half mile of it. So if you've got the 4.6 from that's already on open space in that half, that's like 5.1. So around, you know, 8 miles of this thing, 8.6 of the first iteration is just on town roads. So you don't need approval from anyone other than the town government. And then, I mean, I guess those state road sections might be a little, you know, just have to deal with the state government then if they're maintaining them. But I mean, for the most part, the current route would just go through open spaces, you know, and town roads. It's not going, there's no private property acquisition in the first.
Right. There's no private property, but it's also not going down like a residential street.
It is.
Well, some of them are, yeah, but
You're like, what
Yeah.
kind of residential, is it like, I'm thinking my own neighborhood, so is it like beach? Or is it like, you know, like one of the small streets off of it? Is that, you know?
Combination.
Yeah.
So like the one that he showed, that
Yeah, I can
kind of
pull it
the
up
first
again.
one where he's talking about Perry's Mill Pond. So the first iteration is basically going like, it's looping around Palmetto, which is
Yeah.
like a neighborhood off, like a couple
that's where
streets
you-
off of Mill Plain Road.
So honestly, you may want to do a couple of walking tours in those places, just to kind of,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good
I know
suggestion.
Alex had even said with public engagement, which I think would be great, is I also think there's a huge awareness problem where a lot of people might not even know these open spaces actually exist at all. And so, you know, as a personal thing, my family's lived here for 20 years. I'm very into them, as you can tell. The town of Fairfield says they own 59 parcels. Off the top of my head, I could get 30 by memory. And then I asked the rest of my family, and nobody got more than 5, which really shows you.
I grew up here,
Yeah.
and I just learned, I don't know, within the last month, that there's space at the end of Beaver Street, which is
Oh,
behind-
Gypsy Springs?
Yes, never knew that existed.
Yeah.
And that it backs up to like Grace Street
And
and
May Street, yeah.
Main Street. Yeah, never knew that existed. And I grew up on Jennings Road,
Oh, really?
so that makes it even worse, right?
Yeah, that,
Like, it's yes. So there's definitely, and I walk my dogs. I used to run outside, right? So it's not like I'm one of those people that like is like, ooh, nature, right? So there's definitely an educational.
so
Yeah.
it sounds like it's a two, like there are multiple goals here. One
Yeah.
is to make sure that we all can capitalize on what the town has worked hard to amass, right?
Mhm.
And the other part is, and now we want to build on that to make it more accessible,
Mhm.
right?
I
So-
do think you'll find a lot of people, like, I mean, my husband's a avid runner and is always complaining that there aren't trails, like, that give him enough miles, you know? So I think, yeah, like, I really, like, saw my husband when you came in, I was like, oh, God. But, so I think to your point, I think there are a lot of other people like that too, that
So,
we
so
could,
maybe this might, the other thing to do is to have a web page or website that's dedicated to this, where you can put, you know, this map and just educate people
yeah.
about it. and have an FAQ sheet and, you know.
Yeah,
build on it to start that way.
there's definitely, I think that'd be great. You know, even post those QR codes at places. Something I love to do actually to show the lack of awareness. Again, with like a lot of tech-based things in addition to the Strava map I had shown before. If you look on Google Trends, it'll show you search volume for giving keywords, and you can actually put in places in the town and compare how much people look them up. Beaches are all insanely popular and very seasonal, you know. Now we're just starting to say time of year where people search them up all the time. Everyone does in town. Lake Mohegan as well, I think because it has the beach and the trails are so well maintained, mostly at that point by people just packing down the dirt. Also generates a very high search volume. Nearly all of the other open spaces in comparison barely register the entire year. People literally just don't know they exist. People usually know about the ones in their neighborhood. I myself actually went back through my own running over the past 10 years and looked on Strava, et cetera, to see when I discovered them. And it took me, I mean, granted I was starting in middle school, but I live in comparison, you know, downtown University Beach area-ish, here-ish. My whole point being is that I'm closest to Perry's Mill Ponds and the salt marshes by a 50-50 split, pretty much. And then it took me, you know, as a 11, 12-year-old then, about 5 years to find those trails. And then after that, yeah, they're just not advertised. It took me 5 years. And then I realized that, you know, these even exist. And, you know, because at certain entrances like Perry's Mill Ponds, for example, there's nothing saying it's an open space and the trails don't have blazes. So you have to know.
Is there any parking?
They're working on that right now,
Yeah,
but there used to only be
Perry's
3 spots. It's getting a lot better as we speak, but
Well, yeah.
yeah,
Where
long.
the nature center is going on Sturgis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but before that existed, you know, because it's just
It was
going
like
in.
4 dirt lot
Yeah.
spots.
Yeah, like you really would not know unless you were looking for this.
Or your husband's a runner. and-
Yeah.
Well, I'm a runner, but I don't run far and not
Yeah.
far enough to get that.
Yeah, and I guess also as a last thing to your comment, you know, the Conservation Commission, some people on there like Ted Lexinger again were like, oh, we should really have someone looking at this from the perspective of a trail runner, which I was happy to hear about because in comparison, you know, my girlfriend is just starting to get into running, so she is like the more beginner sort of attitude with it. And even Brett Woods here, which on the town trail map in blue, as you see, it has a fantastic trail network, one of the best in the whole town. We did an entire loop of it in only 1.8 miles, and she was like, wow, that's actually pretty small. And I was like, I know. You know, I was like, even today, I ran 10 and a half miles, and I was like, you know, if you wanted to do that in an open space, you'd be going around like 6 times. So, you know, that's why I've come up. You can even see them on the map here, and it may be good to take them off for the public eye. But all these dots and things are suggestions for other trails in the future that would really start to link up connectivity further. Like,
Lots of Eagle Scout projects.
yes, I've taken pictures of some of the bridges that already exist that were Eagle Scout projects. And I'm like, this is an example for over here, and this is an example.
The
for
town
over
loves
here.
doing a good Eagle Scout project, so. All right, excellent. Cool, all right, so if there isn't anything else, motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second, okay, and all in favor? Any opposed? Thank you, everybody, for your time, enjoy your
Bye, have a good
vacations.